Hi, I'm Vandana, and I'm working as a security architect with one of the MNCs, and I'm also working with certain communities to share knowledge on security and also to bring more women or diversity and inclusion in security. So I'm one of the chapter leaders for OWASP Bangalore. OWASP is an open community for web application security standards, and I'm also working with so OWASP has a project called Women in AppSec. I'm their Asia lead, and I am also running a community in India that's called InfoSec Girls. So I'm heading that and trying to spread the arms around the region so that we have a greater space for women in security. So today I will be walking you through cloud security, and there are misconceptions and myths around it. And myths can be positive and negative. So positive in a way wherein people are sticking, or the organizations are sticking to cloud because they think that this suits them best and they cannot do something else, and negative in a way wherein they're trying to be away from the cloud providers or cloud environment in general, or they think that my data is not secure in the cloud. So we'll just be walking you through with it, and then we will be talking about certain ground realities in the cloud. So when I started off, or when I started hearing about cloud or cloud computing, this was my assumptions that am I going to be throwing balloon in the air, or what it is going to be, how it's going to be looking like. So I started reading and I started researching about it. Then I got to know that there are multiple vendors who help you in hosting your data, so that you do not have to procure the hardware and you don't have to do much of a headache. You don't have to take much of a headache, but they will help you in bringing up the servers, help in scalability. So this is a usual intro wherein uh, uh, you have cloud computing services. You take help from the cloud providers through servers, storage, database. That you host your software and people leverage the services from you over the cloud. And there are different models available wherein there's a private cloud, public cloud, and there's a hybrid model wherein you have some data in house, and then some data you have it on the cloud. So you just build the services so that you can have connections back to your internal service, because you might not want to have everything shifted to the cloud, or you think that I'm abiding by certain laws or certain restrictions which I cannot go ahead and move to the cloud. So there are different service models in the cloud, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then you have software as a service, and so on. So now, when we talk about these service model, let's take a look at the traditional model that we have currently, which is an on-premise model, wherein if you consider it as a pizza, that will translate wherein you would be doing everything yourself, buying the ingredients, arranging the table, cooking it, everything that you would be doing you on your own. You cannot rely on anyone else. Anything goes down, you would be responsible for it. So there's somewhere I read a great thing, like it's milking your own cows, and kneading your own dough. So you have to do everything on yourself. you, now now another thing would be wherein you take and bake, wherein you go and get the frozen pizza, heat it up, and just eat it. Wherein you have infrastructure as a service, you don't need to buy any hardware. You are taking the infrastructure from the cloud provider. So infrastructure as a service usually means that you have a vendor that takes care of the hardware, which is running the content management server, making sure the server, storage, load balancers, network, and what all we have at peak performances, that is in place for you. Apart from that, there are other models wherein, when we say platform as a service, you don't even have to manage the underlying operating hardware or a software. So when we take an example in the pizza world, so I really like this concept of pizza as a service, so that's why I'm just trying to explain it in that way. So in the pizza world, all you need to do is set the table, because the pie will be delivered to you ready to eat. Just set the table and they will be giving it to you. The only thing you would need to do, or the concern you need to be concerned about, is the content management system itself. The infrastructure and the platform would be taken care by the vendor. And finally, we end up with a software as a service, wherein we have been using the softwares and the services on the cloud. You just have to maintain the credentials. That's about it. But that's again a big thing, wherein you don't have to manage or worry about patches, security, and maintenance upgrades. The team would be taking care of. The cloud service provider would be taking care of that. Um, so this is our pizza. It's ready just to be served. You just have to eat it up. That's about it. Now, these are some common public cloud vendors that we have. We have IBM Cloud, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, or GCP, and there are many others which are there in the market. So these are the top ones which I could just pick up and post it here. And we have Alibaba, Red Hat, and then so on. So let's go for the general myth, which are as part of the security we have. So one of the biggest misconception that you hear about the cloud is data is safer within the four walls of organization than in the hands of a cloud security provider or cloud service provider. But in reality, there have been no evidence. There have been actually no evidence that actually indicates that cloud service providers have performed less securely than the end user organization. So there's also a research firm which has published a security report, which is Gartner. The recent history of public cloud was demonstrated that the brand name extremely provision multi-tenant services are not only susceptible to attack, but are also more secure starting point than the more traditional in-house implementation. Uh, and also, now when we talk about another cloud security myth, or cloud computing myth, wherein a cloud server has unlimited resources. It does. But again, it may appear that your cloud server has unlimited memory and processing power, but consuming more than you need, or allocating more than you need, would actually raise the price. So you are increasing the price yourself than somebody else doing it. Another very interesting uh, myth or misconception, that cloud is more susceptible to breach. Cloud would be susceptible to breach, but there is a model that is there, which cloud providers specifically say that it's a shared responsibility model, wherein a few things cloud service provider would do for sure, but how about responsibility of the organization? They are posting the data on the cloud, they are keeping the data on the cloud. Cloud provider would be taking care of the encryption, and making sure that your infrastructure is safe. They are going through the rigorous test. Without going those rigorous tests or the audits or those compliance check, cloud provider cannot open up their services to the whole world. So they have to go through the rigorous test, then only they do it. But an organization also has to make sure that they are taking care of that shared security model. So it's actually a flip side, wherein if I trust the cloud to be secure, once I set up my cloud, I'm done. I don't have to do anything. I have heard, seen people saying that, but that there's a catch here. Of course, that the cloud is secure. The cloud provider, but the cloud provider is only responsible for securing their infrastructure. You are responsible for your data and the application stored on that infrastructure. If there is a vulnerability in one of the platform that you are, or the backend application that you are owning, which cloud provider has nothing to do, you have to patch that. They're not going to patch that. If there is a platform where you have hosted and you are supposed to take care of the platform, cloud provider cannot do anything. If the breach happens, you are totally responsible for it. They will ensure what they provide. You can go through the guidelines that they have given when you're signing a contract, read through it properly. But what you put in the cloud or on the cloud is your responsibility. Cyber criminals are still targeting your applications and the stolen credentials. So you need to have the ability to identify the threats and control who's accessing the information. You have so I'll give you an example. You have a house with multiple doors and windows, even perhaps alarm. You have the tools, but you still have to lock the doors. You can't say that I have locked all my doors, and but the windows are open and nobody can come inside my house. So you have to close the windows, set the alarm. You have to practice good cybersecurity, good cybersecurity hygiene. The cloud is no more secure than you make it. So you have to make sure you work on that practice. Another good misconception, or another myth is that no, you can no way figure out who has access to your data. It's actually, you can do it when you have proper groups, proper users, proper policies assigned to so if you have a proper hierarchy set, like you're not letting the people use, or your teams use the root accounts or the master account, but creating the groups, understanding who needs what access, and assigning the right policies to it, assigning the right set of rules to it, and then um, adding those users to it, then you are creating your own hierarchy. You know who's doing what, and if something happens, you would be able to figure out who did it, where actually the lack was. um, Now apart from that, you as we discussed, there is a less control over data. That's not the thing. They will actually give you the required set of accesses and required set of information that you actually need for the cloud. So now they have, all the cloud providers, I've seen that they keep on giving you services so that you can monitor. So those services are free of cost. A lot of services are free of cost for you to monitor your own data on your own services, whether any kind of breaches, somebody's trying to breach your system or somebody's trying to sniff your credentials. There are many services which are there, but you have to leverage. You have to take care of your own accounts. You can't say that my account is secure if I have a 6-digit password. There are people who are still practicing that. You need to have proper implementation, configuration in place when you are using, because the infrastructure is there, but the security is in your hands. And another important thing is that a cloud is there, but there can be human error, so accidents can happen. The recent breaches or the data breaches that have happened, the research have shown that 30%, 34% of the data lost in the first half of 2018 through breaches were caused by the accidental losses. That means, oops, someone left the data exposed and open to breach. Third parties do increase your risk. And if I say that, what about the third parties who access your data day in and day out? You have the integration with them, but you just forget about that. Even there's a password management company. They announced early last year that they exposed a file with 2.4 million names, password hints, and encrypted passwords on an unprotected server. Even later in January, another astounding breach was announced related to the credential theft. So you have to take care of your own credentials. You can't leave the SSH keys on the GitHub. It's like telling the world, go access my system. There was one more recent breach I heard, wherein somebody left the Slack keys on the GitHub. And while doing OSINT, people found out and then they reported to the company through a responsible disclosure so that the company can get to know, and without any further delay, they fixed that. And when they evaluated, they found out that was actual keys of their Slack where developers were working, and they fixed it. So we have to be very cautious when we are dealing with such data. Another thing is that maintenance of security in the cloud is difficult. I would say it's not the case. If you know your environment better, and what you're moving to cloud, and what services you're going to be using, what securities around that services are there, then you are not in a fit. You can take care of your environment better in the cloud as well. um, Apart from that, I will yeah, multi-tenant systems are less secure. That's not the case. Multi-tenant secure systems, they are the there's actually no absolutes in cloud security. So multi-tenant systems offer two security benefits over single tenant system, wherein they provide an additional layer of content protection, and they ensure that security patches are always up to date. While cloud hosted systems may provide hardware-based and perimeter security, those who choose a multi-tenant system get a third-party protection called logical content isolation, and designated to help prevent inside perimeter attacks. So in that way, you have a secure environment. You choose what you want, and you choose what you actually are looking forward. Another important fact, or another misconception, I should say, that people say that security slow down the performance in the cloud. So it's about protecting your own credentials. The simplest solution, I would say, would seem to be encrypt everything. Now, if you encrypt everything, and you're trying to fetch the data on a daily basis, obviously your system will slow down. So you have to think, you have to prioritize, you have to categorize your own information. What is secure, what is confidential, what is critical, and what is not at all, what is public. If there's something public and you don't need to hide it, you don't need to encrypt that. So you have to categorize your own information. Now, we've talked about the general myth, but how about the myth which CEOs, developers, or even CISOs might have? Right? Everyone has their own conceptions, and sometimes they're not able to discuss also, which they need to start talking about. And some are even coming up and asking questions and discussing it. So CEOs are actually charged with all the strategic planning and operations at their companies, and it's actually a lot of responsibility. So they can be forgiven for mistakenly believing that they and they are there are capable people they put in charge of this IT security and doing the right things in the right place. So their security people are doing right thing at the right place, all of it. But how about the threats which just come from the inside? Or the people who are using your cloud services might not so there's a developer who is not supposed to push the code in the cloud. Why that person needs the full access to the root account, or even need an admin access? You can have their read only access, or even give them the access to only the lower environment, so you can segregate that. And uh, so there's another myth that comes into picture, that attackers can't be stopped. Most computer defenses are so weak and ill-advised that hackers and malwares can actually break into them at will, anytime. And that's only if the malicious intruders haven't already pawned the entire environment. So if you have proper security configurations and mechanisms, we wouldn't say that you are 100% secure, but at least you're taking the best practices, all the cautions in place. You are well aware that this can be done and this shouldn't be done. Apart from that, CISOs have their own myth, that every time we talk to a company and they say that their data is too important to put in the cloud, we ask them, um, uh, we ask them a lot of questions, and specific questions would be that they're using HR or customer relationship management. Invariably the answer is either Workday or Salesforce or any other XYZ services. Now if you're using Office 365 or other software as a service platform or applications, they say yes. So we explain that that their data is more critical, and they're using customer or their personal their company organization there. That's also a cloud service. So you can't say that uh, that we are not using cloud at all. So some form you're using cloud services, and we need to start shifting towards cloud security mindset. So that has to come up with a lot of discussions and a lot of thought thinking. And moving actually to the cloud requires an ability to understand and address a lot of considerations like data migration, the business specific capabilities of solutions, change management, governance, system integration, alongside security. So you have to just you have to know your environment, and all these myths will go away. You would be easy comfortable in the cloud, and there cannot be any rapid development and security in the cloud. But the reality is that the cloud is actually enabling technology for DevSecOps, because we've been talking or we are talking, this is the era of DevSecOps, wherein um, everyone wants to have their systems automated. Talk about development, they want to make sure that when they develop, the code should be when the code is ready, that should be pushed automatically to the test, and once the test is done, it should be automatically, when the test gets passed, it should be automatically passed to the production, wherein we have imbibed security to it. So now that happens that happens through a lot of cloud services that we are using. So in some way or the other, we are using the cloud services. And we have been talking about the different myths that everyone has. Another thing, before I go to realities, I want to talk about that monitoring in the cloud is difficult. It is not difficult at all. You need to have the right set of integrations and the tools available and the technologies available, and you can actually monitor all your data. And the cloud security reality is, cloud security is everyone's responsibility, or security is everyone's responsibility. All has to work together hand in hand to make sure the environment is safe. If something happens, we cannot blame the CISO, we cannot blame the security team, development team, or anyone. It's everyone's responsibility. You have to come forward and talk about it, discuss it, understand your environment. And if you have any misunderstanding, misconception, or question, just feel free to post on the forums, discuss with the people who are part of it, and your data in the cloud would be safe and sound. These are the few articles which I've referred to, and which blogs I've actually gone through, and they gave me a good insight on the information that I was looking for, and there are many more associated with it. So if you have any questions around the same topic, or you have some feedback, or you want to discuss about something, you can reach me on infosec vandana on Twitter, and I am one, like, you can search me on LinkedIn as well. So this is on the topic. Thank you so much for hearing me. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop a question or reach out to me. Thank you so much.